Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, a lot to talk about today, believe me. However, clearly now, what is developing as one of the biggest stories in the country is the public firestorm that has been unleashed by, if you can call him a late night comedian, he's not funny, hasn't been funny in a very long time, but anyway, late night host, Disney's own Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel, as many of you know, is a rabid, and I mean rabid, anti-Trumper. Well, he crossed the line. There is no question that he crossed the line. And several days before now the infamous White House Correspondents' Dinner, where Cole Allen, a 31-year-old radical leftist and Democrat, tried to assassinate the president, Melania, the first lady, and leading members of the president's administration. Jimmy Kimmel did a mock version of the White House Correspondents' Dinner with himself as sort of the MC, cracking jokes. And he stood up on a fake podium. They showed a picture of Melania Trump sitting beside Donald Trump. This was on a Thursday night. Saturday night was obviously the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And with a big smile on his face, Kimmel said this about the First Lady. Roll cut 1D, Mike.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
And you hear the studio, by the way, the studio audience laughing. Okay, now remember, mostly liberals, in fact, I think only liberals, and diehard progressives, okay, Democrats watch late night, Jimmy Kimmel's late night show. Its ratings are in the toilet. In fact, it doesn't even make any money. It costs more to produce than the ad revenue that they can generate. So it's a money loser, but it doesn't matter. Disney likes Jimmy Kimmel because he's an anti-Trump Democrat leftist. ABC likes Jimmy Kimmel because he's an anti-Trump Democrat leftist. So that's what this is all about. It's basically, as someone put it, an in-kind contribution. Disney and ABC make an in-kind contribution to the Democratic Party. So what Kimmel really is, and this has been the case now for I don't know how many years, he's not a comedian. There's nothing funny about this man. He doesn't do comedy. He's an operative for the Democratic Party. And he's a nasty, nasty, vicious human being. Well, he made this crack. He made this quote-unquote joke. I put in quotation marks. And then, of course, 2 nights later, Cole Allen struck, attacking Secret Service agents, trying to storm the ballroom, shooting a law enforcement official in the chest. Thankfully, the person was wearing a bulletproof vest and wasn't seriously hurt. But the goal was to assassinate the president, assassinate the first lady, and take out the top cabinet members of the Trump administration. Now, Melania Trump has responded. She was there. She was terrorized by what happened. Before Trump, as Trump himself said, I thought a tray had fallen, full of, with glasses. Melania said right away to me, no, these are gunshots. And Melania obviously was not just frightened. She was in many ways, as Trump said, traumatized by what happened, fearing that she would have been killed, her husband would have been killed, close friends of hers who were there would have been killed. And so she responded to Jimmy Kimmel. And now this story is everywhere. And here is what she wrote on X. Quote, Kimmel's hateful and violent rhetoric. This is what Melania Trump wrote on her X account, her official First Lady account. Kimmel's hateful and violent rhetoric is intended to divide our country. His monologue about my family isn't comedy. His words are corrosive and deepens the political sickness within America. People like Kimmel shouldn't have the opportunity to enter our homes each evening to spread hate, she adds. A coward. Kimmel hides behind ABC because he knows the network will keep running cover to protect him. And then she says this to ABC and their parent company, Disney. Enough is enough. It is time for ABC to take a stand. How many times will ABC's leadership enable Kimmel's atrocious behavior at the expense of our community? Now, let me just say this, and then I want to go to the phone lines right after the break if we have enough callers. 617-266-6868 is the number. President Trump now has weighed in as well, saying that Jimmy Kimmel's remarks were, quote, according to Trump's words, quote, beyond the pale, unquote, that he crossed the line. Now, Disney is standing by Kimmel. ABC is standing by Kimmel. Kimmel last night, under tremendous pressure from MAGA, from conservatives, from the administration, gave a very mealy-mouthed apology, frankly, a pathetic apology that didn't address the central issue. How is this a joke? According to Jimmy Kimmel, this was all just comedy. It's just a joke. Melania can't take a joke. Donald Trump can't take a joke. And so I'm being very serious. I'm asking you, the great audience of Kuhner Country, to the liberals who are listening, and there are many of you who do listen, to the Democrats who listen, and many of you do listen, where's the comedy in what I just played? What's the quote-unquote joke? What's the joke? That Melania will have to soon bury her husband? That her husband is going to be assassinated? Or that he should be killed? Like, this is funny for you guys? To fantasize about the death of Donald Trump? And that this woman should have a, quote, expectant glow at the thought that her husband soon is going to die? That she should what? Look forward to her husband being put 6 feet under the grave? That she should lose her husband? And her son should lose a father? And you guys think this is a quote-unquote... This is not a joke. What's the comedy? What's the humor here? No, I'll tell you what it is. And this is the problem. This is the problem. They are normalizing and mainstreaming a culture of assassination and a culture of political violence, whereby this sick audience, and as I said, it's only Democrat, the few viewers he has, okay, are Democrats and liberals, where they get their sick, twisted jollies in jokes about Donald Trump being murdered, Donald Trump being killed, Donald Trump dying, Donald Trump being arrested, Donald Trump whatever, being thrown in prison for the rest of his life, his family losing everything. In other words, they take sick pleasure in the demise and destruction and death of a president that they loathe with every fiber in their being. As Melania rightly put it in her X account, this is a political sickness. It's a sickness that is destroying the United States, that is dividing us more and more and more. And yet ABC News, or forgive me, ABC, my bad, and Disney will not do the obvious right thing. This is not cancel culture. This is not a bad joke or a joke in very poor taste or a view I disagree with, so you censor somebody. No. This is calling for the death and the murder of the President of the United States. That's not funny. That's dangerous. That's shouting fire in a crowded theater. That's what Kimmel did. And this is, by the way, when he did this monologue 2 days before the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Trump had already been through 2 attempted assassinations. Now it's 3. So, as I said on X last night, and it's very unpleasant to say it, but if I'm not here to speak the truth, what's the point of me being behind this microphone? Democrats, liberals, Hollywood celebrities, the media.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
You know what to me is even sicker than the joke itself, sick as it is? It's the audience, the studio audience. He's going to die. Somebody kill him. Just yucking it up. I mean, these people are sick. I'm telling you, they're mentally ill. That's what they are. They're seriously mentally ill. 621 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, Melania Trump now on the offensive. She has come out with a post on X from her official First Lady account, calling Jimmy Kimmel a coward, saying that the way he was calling for the death of her husband just days before the White House Correspondents' Dinner has crossed the line as far as she's concerned. And she is now asking ABC and Disney to have him fired, saying this is not comedy, this is violent rhetoric, and this is dangerous hate. And it's going to get me and my husband killed. And my question to you, is Melania Trump right? Is President Trump right? Should ABC and Disney finally fire Jimmy Kimmel? 617-266-6868. Or is this a violation of Jimmy Kimmel's First Amendment right? That's what the left is now arguing today. They're saying it was just a bad joke, nothing more than a bad joke, and that Jimmy Kimmel should remain on the air because Democrats and liberals love him. Tommy in Brockton, you're going to kick us off, Tommy. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Yeah, I've got better things to do with my retirement than piss and moan about a stooge like Jimmy Kimmel, but you are correct that they are setting a culture in this country of where, you know something, we don't like you, we're going to off you. And all I'm going to say is that, you know, I paid attention during Russian history in Foxborough High School, the fall of '77, when I took Russian history for an elective. And we also discussed the Khmer Rouge, which happened in Cambodia. And the dehumanization that has gone on, especially from the Biden administration, for people like me, who are people that voted for Donald Trump. I'm a frequent talk radio caller, and I know one talk radio host who constantly calls people like me, Trump supporters, vile human beings, stupid, and, you know, just you can't insult me. But the point is what's going on in this country is there is a true demonization. And I want to say one thing with regard, this is the second attempt, major attempt of where it really got, third attempt of where it got close to Trump. If those were 5 men that had AK-47s or handguns with, large capacity magazines, that stormed through that hotel into that ballroom like that, there would have been much more, there would have been serious bloodshed. I don't think that the Secret Service could have stopped them at that point. And there's something fundamentally wrong. And if Trump's people are listening, I said this after Butler, Pennsylvania, they have got to put all of those individuals with security on that night. They have to put them on lie detector tests. I don't think there's anyone in the administration that's trying to off Trump, but I do think that there are partisans within the government that would love to see Donald Trump assassinated.
Oh, you hit the nail right on the head. Tommy, that's been my view now for a while. And just to reinforce what you're saying, it's not like someone close to Trump wants him dead or anything like that. It's the people in the government, some within the Secret Service, who are partisan Democrats, who would love to see nothing more than somebody take him out. I'm sorry. It's the truth. And look, the Washington Times, my former paper, I still got a couple of contacts there. They were at the White House, my friends, they were at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, okay, on Saturday night. Let me tell you what they told me. They said, Jeff, the security was so poor and it was so lax. Almost anybody could have walked in. You didn't have to show any photo ID. You didn't have to even show your actual ticket. You just needed to show a copy of an invitation to one of the parties, and they just let you in. He said there was one door. In fact, there were two doors. He said they were just holding it open. Like literally, they were holding it open for people to walk on through. That's it. And what this person said to me was, Jeff, it's so obvious. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. You have Secret Service agents who are doing the bare minimum. They're barely lifting their finger to protect the President of the United States. We were shocked. They just opened the door and come on in. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is very rare and unusual. She's been pretty much first term, and even now in the second term, Melania Trump, the first lady, she's been quite apolitical. She does obviously some causes that are near and dear to her, but for the most part, she stays out of politics. She is now launching a blistering counteroffensive, and rightfully so, against Jimmy Kimmel, saying that his violent rhetoric, his hate-filled, violent, obscene rhetoric, it's not comedy. And it's going to get her and her husband killed. And she is now demanding that ABC and Disney do the right thing and take this disgusting hater off the air. And I don't just mean the fact that she disagrees with what he says. It's the fact now that, and I'll get to some of the other examples, this is a man who has been calling for MAGA to be murdered, for the president to be assassinated, for Republicans to be killed, or to laugh and mock at the prospect of people being laughed and killed. Now, just Larry on Messenger made an absolutely brilliant point. He said, Jeff, if I go on Facebook or Instagram or X, wherever, and I'm threatened to assassinate someone or call for someone's murder or mock the potential murder and death of a high-profile person, I'm suspended. They boot me out. I'm done. So why are the rules different for Jimmy Kimmel and liberals? How come they can constantly get away with things that nobody else can? Just because they happen to be in the, quote, media or in the, quote, entertainment business, show business, or in, quote, Hollywood? What gives them a free pass? Now, look, I can just tell you this. If I said what Jimmy Kimmel said, say about Joe Biden and say Jill Biden, oh, you have the glow of an expectant widow, i.e., wouldn't it be great if Joey died? Or wouldn't it be great if somebody took out Joey? I'm gone. I'm so gone. They wouldn't even let me finish the show. Why? Because I'm calling for someone's death. I'm calling potentially for the murder of another human being, never mind at the time, the President of the United States, which, by the way, is illegal on top of everything else. So how come I have to go, or any conservative would have to go, but Jimmy Kimmel doesn't? And this, to me, is the larger point. And this is the heart of the matter, as they would say. For 11 years now, 11 years since Trump walked down that escalator, that famous escalator in 2015, the fake news media, the Democratic Party, Hollywood, the entertainment industry, they have been relentlessly demonizing and vilifying and dehumanizing Trump. They have portrayed this man as an absolute monster. And they have done this day after day after day after day, with lie after lie after lie, to the point that he's had 3 assassination attempts, because half the country has become convinced that he's the second coming of Adolf Hitler. And this is what ultimately triggered Cole Allen. As I said yesterday, he is a creation. He is a product of this assassination culture, this culture of political violence and left-wing hatred and extremism that the radical Democrats in both in the party, of course, politicians, and the media have been spewing now for 11 years. To the point that if you look at social media, it is beyond disgusting. Millions and millions and millions of Democrats are saying, why isn't he dead? Cole Allen is a hero. His big mistake, he missed. It's exactly what Tommy and Brockton said. There is a campaign now of thorough dehumanization of Trump, his family, people who serve as in administration, and his voters and supporters, people like you and me. We're considered Nazi white supremacist scum. And the more you kill us, the better, because you're making the world a better place. That's the ultimate meaning of Cole Allen's manifesto. And so I just want you to sit back. I promise I'm going to go back to the calls. The lines are jammed. But I want to play Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, because she was there as well on Saturday at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And she said, I thought he was going to come and kill me too. What the hell have I done? I've got a young baby at home, for God's sake. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a human being. Listen now to Caroline Leavitt. In a room full of left-wing, anti-Trump, liberal reporters, Democrat hacks, she gave it to them with both barrels, saying, you, all of you in this room, are responsible for what happened on Saturday night. Roll cut 1, Mike.
This political violence stems from a systemic demonization of him and his supporters by commentators, yes, by elected members of the Democrat Party, and even some in the media. This hateful and constant and violent rhetoric directed at President Trump day after day after day for 11 years has helped to legitimize this violence and bring us to this dark moment. Those who constantly falsely label and slander the president as a fascist, as a threat to democracy, and compare him to Hitler to score political points are fueling this kind of violence.
Bingo. Bingo. As I like to say, couldn't have said it better myself. Now, she continues, and I love the phrase, the left-wing cult of hatred, because it is now. It's a cult of hatred. And they can't stop. They just can't. It's like an addiction. They just can't stop. Roll cut 1A, Mike.
The left-wing cult of hatred against the president and all of those who support him and work for him has gotten multiple people hurt and killed, and it almost did so again this weekend. When you read the manifesto of this shooter, ask yourselves, how different is the rhetoric from this almost assassin than what you read on social media and hear in various forums every single day? The answer, if you're being honest with yourself, is that there is no difference at all.
That was my point yesterday, if you remember. Right? That's what I said yesterday. I said, look, let's be honest. Let's be honest. What did, in that manifesto, Cole Allen, what did he say that is different from what Hakeem Jeffries says on a regular basis, or Elizabeth Warren, or Ed Markey, or Bernie Sanders, or AOC, or Mamdani, or Chuck Schumer, or Kamala Harris, or the New York Times, or the Boston Globe, or CNN, or MS Now? There's no difference. None. It's almost verbatim the same thing. Except he acted on their words and their propaganda. He took it seriously to its logical conclusion. That's the only difference. And then Caroline Leavitt gets to Melania Trump. Because these so-called late-night comedians, and I put comedians in quotation marks, whether it's Jimmy Kimmel, whether it's Stephen Colbert, whether it's they all blend in one into the other because they're all the same. They're partisan Democrat hacks who are nasty, disgusting, and vicious. You make a joke about the First Lady, how she's looking forward to the death and murder of her husband, and this is what passes for comedy now? Roll cut 1B, Mike.
Much of the manifesto of the would-be assassin is indistinguishable from the words that we hear daily from so many. For example, as the First Lady of the United States pointed out this morning, just 2 days prior to the shooting, ABC's late-night host Jimmy Kimmel disgustingly called First Lady Melania Trump an expectant widow. Who in their right minds says a wife would be glowing over the potential murder of her beloved husband? And having experienced what I did with the First Lady on Saturday night, I can tell you that she was anything but that. This kind of rhetoric about the president, the First Lady, and his supporters is completely deranged, and it's unbelievable that the American people are consuming it night after night after night.
I mean, she nailed it. It was one of her frankly, it was one of her best performances. Not that she's not always good. She's always very good. But yesterday, she was, as I like to say, on fire. Let's go to Dave, our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent in the Pittsburgh area. Dave, thanks for holding, and as always, welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I saw your ex post on the Pope last night. I don't mean to get off track, but it was very eloquent, and especially about the Mass GOP, Jeff. You nailed it as always. But, Jeff, real quick, Jimmy Kimmel needs to be gone. He needs to be gone like the wind. And I wrote on Facebook, as I sent you a copy of the post on Messenger just now before I came on, I said he's the not-so-funny comedian. And, Jeff, he, like you said, to steal some of your thunder, if you don't mind, he hasn't been funny in a long, long time. And even when he cracks a wise-ass joke, he's not funny. I mean, I don't watch him. I mean, for somebody to watch him, they got to be of low IQ, which describes pretty much all the Democrats in a nutshell, except my Senator Fetterman, who's an awesome guy. I don't agree with all the time, but Jeff, he needs to go, buddy.
Well, Dave, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, he's always been a scumbag. He really has been. Yes. Kimmel has always been a lowlife. And, he did the blackface routine, and the liberals forgave him for that. And then if you remember, after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, to me, I don't know how he survived that, where he went on, live on the air, and he said, no, MAGA killed Charlie Kirk. That the assassin was a Trump conservative, a Trump MAGA supporter, and that this was, a MAGA was killing MAGA, and that they're trying to pin it on this, transgender left-wing, Tyler Robinson guy. And I remember thinking, that is such a blatant lie. That is so disgustingly false. You want to talk about pure manipulation and propaganda. And, nothing happened to him. I mean, it's, again, ABC circled the wagons, Disney circled the wagons. And there's a certain point where and by the way, that's when it came out. He loses ABC and Disney money. It's not like he's making them money. If you say, well, he's making them money. Okay, at least there's a financial reason. His show costs more to produce than the revenue they can generate in advertisements. So the question is, he has low ratings. He brings in no money. In fact, he loses them money. He says the most vile, sickening things you can think of, including endorsing murder and the killing of the president of the United States. Okay, so violence, political violence, and terrorism. So why would ABC keep him on? I mean, just objectively, you have to ask yourself, why would the owners of Disney keep him on? And to me, I think the answer is obvious. Because Disney and ABC are woke globalist Democrats. And as long as this guy continues to toe the line for the Democrats and spew his hatred, and that's what it is, it's hatred of Donald Trump every single night, they're happy. So they don't care. And I'll tell you this, I'll go even further, Dave, and I'll give you the last word. I wouldn't be surprised if in a week or two he starts calling for the death of Melania and think that's funny. And the liberals are going to laugh. In other words, he has a license to say whatever he wants to say because he's a Democrat. And so he's protected. And as Melania rightly said, he's a coward. He hides behind ABC saying the most vile, sickening, evil things imaginable because he knows that the company will always protect him because Democrats are like the mob. They protect their own. Dave, am I wrong?
1,000% correct, Jeff. And Jeff, I'll end this call on this because I know you got to get to other calls too. It's an old wise saying, but the Democrats aren't wise, so they won't get it, Jeff. It's better to be thought of as a fool than to open one's mouth and remove all doubt.
Oh, that's Jimmy Kimmel. Dave, you just tattooed him, my friend. Dave, as always, thank you so much for that call. God bless you, my friend. Angelo in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Angelo, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff.
Hi, Angelo.
Enough to make you boil out of your skin, but ABC, Disney, Kimball, this is the reaction they want to get out of the public because they are not patriotic people. They want to see America feel that that person that tried to take away, that tried that assassination, no trial, absolute death penalty immediately. Kimball should be prosecuted for what he's doing on the TV, shaming them. I would definitely shun Disney and ABC for sure. What we need is more ICE, more audits. That's what they don't like. They don't like the truth. Just keep going. The money we saved for Doge, more Doge and all that, and put it on the gas to lower gas prices, keep America moving forward, and that's the end of them. They hate patriots, they hate us, and they're going through Trump to get to us, and they're doing a good job, but all we got to do is we outnumber them, keep our heads forward, ignore them, and prosecute them when they do wrong, and that's it. What else can you do?
Well, Angelo, I was just thinking as you were talking, look, I don't watch ABC. I make a point of it not to watch ABC. And I don't have anything to do with Disney. And, it's everybody has to make their own decision. But my recommendation, let's hit them where it hurts, in the pocketbook. They expect us not to watch ABC News. They expect us not to watch, say, Jimmy Kimmel. Okay? But don't watch any of their programming on ABC. Just don't watch it. Nothing. Just don't watch it. Disney, same thing. Don't watch anything related to Disney. Don't buy a single Disney-related product. In other words, boycott Disney, boycott ABC. Now, when MAGA does a boycott, it is very effective because we have such massive numbers. And frankly, we're the middle class of this country. So we have a lot of, less and less disposable income with the way inflation is killing us, but we have disposable income. We buy stuff. We just do. We have families, we have kids, we have grandkids. So Disney needs us. We don't need them. Don't see a Disney movie. Whatever Disney is selling, boycott it. And believe me, they're going to start to realize, maybe it's time to take Kimmel off the air. We have the power of the economic boycott. We can hit them right in the pocketbook. And for the life of me, I don't understand why we don't do it. Now, again, look, the silver lining out of all this, and what happened to me on Saturday night was beyond disgusting and sickening. But if you want a silver lining, it's very obvious. The country is now seeing how unhinged, how insane, how dangerous the Democrats have become. Their reaction leading up to it, their reaction that night, and their reaction afterwards. And what many now are starting to ask themselves, this is everywhere, if they're willing to die to kill Trump and people in his administration and his cabinet, if they're willing to die, because remember, Cole Allen was saying, look, I'm willing to die. I mean, to give him his due. He charged at the Secret Service checkpoint. What I'm reading now is, he got off 4 or 5 shots before they finally were able to subdue him and take him down. He shot an agent right in the chest. The bulletproof vest saved his life. So it was almost like a kamikaze-style attack or an Islamist-style attack. All that was missing was the Allah Akbar. That's it. That was the only thing missing. Or death to Trump. And then, and charge. So he was willing to die. If you're willing to die to go after Republicans and to go after Trump and to go after MAGA, what do you think is going to happen once they get into power? Once they grab political power? How fanatical and crazy are they going to be then? And we're already getting a taste. They're already telegraphing what they're going to do once they win, or should they win. And that's why I'm again, our ace in the hole is how radical and extreme and deranged the Democrats have become, and the more they show it every day. And I think you're going to see many independents, many Trump supporters who are thinking, I'm going to sit this one out. And they're like, I'm not sitting this one out. So that's the only positive that I got from Saturday night, which is the country now is saying we don't want a civil war because they really are now that crazy. Angelo, thank you so much for that call. I really appreciate it. Bob in Plymouth, thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Take my call and welcome back. We missed you last week.
Thank you, Bob.
I understand you had a great time.
Yes, it was expensive though. Bob, man, Paradise Island, Atlantis. That's where we went. They cleaned out my bank account, Bob. The kids had a great time. Grace had a great time. My bank account, not so much, Bob. But let that go, my friend.
Listen, the reason I called, a lot of it's been covered already. But my first thing I thought about was the highest-rated nighttime talk show is the Jeff Kuhner. Jeff. I can't.
Greg Gutfeld. Greg
Gutfeld, right? Anyway, he outdoes all three of them added together, right?
Yes. Yeah, he beats all three of them combined.
Right. Yes. But what would happen if he'd said anything even similar to what they said, to what Kimmel said about Dr. Jill or Michelle? What would happen to him? He'd
be fired. Bob, trust me, absolutely. Take it to the bank. He would be, they wouldn't even let him finish the show, like with me. Really, I'm not saying this for dramatic effect. I'm telling you, had he say what Kimmel said, okay? Put it in the words of Greg Gutfeld's mouth. And it just substitute, Dr. Jill and Joe Biden for Melania and President Trump. Okay? The exact same thing. You have the glow of an expectant widow. Ha, 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 ha. Like someone needs to off your husband off. Now, they maybe would have let him finish the segment. The moment it's the break, he's out. He's out. And either they would cut to another program or they'd have one of the sidekicks or the co-hosts pick up and finish the show. They wouldn't, and they would say, leave the building. We're going to send all your stuff. Don't even pack your boxes. We'll take care of it. He's gone. He's finished. You can't threaten to murder or call for the killing or assassination of the President of the United States. I mean, A, it's against the law. B, what kind of a society are we going to become? Like, okay, look, honestly, Bob, what happened on Saturday? Had they gotten the president, had the left finally achieved what it wanted, which was the murder of President Trump, we literally could be at civil war right now as I speak to you. At a bare minimum, the country would be blowing up, tearing itself apart. There are just some things you don't do. It's beyond the pale. And laughing or mocking or glorifying the violence and the murder of anybody, never mind a public official, never mind the President of the United States, this is something you don't do in a civilized society. You cross that line, there's no going back. And iHeart, if I did that, iHeart would rightly say, Kuhner, bye. It's your last show. Adios. Greg Gutfeld, Greg, hope you didn't blow your money because you're never going to work again. Bye. So again, why are we held? And you, by the way, the same thing would happen to any of you. Literally, any of you. And you'd probably have the Secret Service knocking on your door. Bob, if you made that kind of a joke on social media or at a bar with friends or whatever, anything semi-public, and somebody overheard you, you would have the Secret Service knocking on your door saying, what, you think it's funny to call for the president to be killed? Hey, buddy, Mr. Bob in Plymouth, it's against the law, man. You're lucky you don't spend a year in jail. So why is it that we're held to a very different and much higher standard than Democrats and liberals, especially Democrat politicians and Hollywood so-called entertainers and journalists? I'm sorry, enough is enough. Melania is 1,000% correct. Kimmel is a coward. He's nasty. He's vicious. And he called for the murder of her husband. And she says, you let that into everybody's home every night? ABC, Disney, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Bob, final word to you, my friend.
Suppose this guy who checked in the day before bought enough stuff in to blow up the place. I understand he was staying on the next level above the ballroom.
Yes.
And he left the building and set off this big charge. And imagine what would have happened if he had done that.
Well, Bob, it's funny you should say that. That's Senator Fetterman's point, John Fetterman's point, Democrat. I could play you the cut, but I just want to, I'll just paraphrase it for you. He said, I still remember Oklahoma City, 1995. He said he could have put in a big fertilizer bomb in one of his bags, luggages, brought it because he said they didn't check my guns. I had guns, I had knives, I had weapons. He goes, they didn't check a thing. He says it himself. I could have put a mother bomb in there and they wouldn't have checked it. So Fetterman said, what if he did a 1995 Oklahoma City style bombing, a big fertilizer bomb, you stick it in a duffel bag or whatever, and you all you got to do is leave it in the hotel room. And in fact, you don't have to even charge the Secret Service and get yourself killed. You just put a detonator on it. I mean, that's Fetterman's point. I mean, he said it openly. He goes, he puts a detonator on it, a la Oklahoma City, and say, time it for 9 o'clock at night. He goes, the whole building goes kaboom. Everybody in the ballroom is dead. Everybody in the hotel is dead, but everybody in the ballroom is dead. Now, just Bob, stand back. The president was there. The vice president was there. The secretary of state was there. The secretary of war was there. The speaker of the House was there. The Health and Human Services secretary was there. The secretary of energy was there. The press secretary was there. I mean, I could go on and on. The government, the administration was there. You would have effectively decapitated the leadership of the United States. Boom. That's it. The government would collapse. There's no government. And done by a rabid leftist, a rabid left-wing pro-Kamala Harris Democrat, using Democrat talking points as the justification in his manifesto for that act of political terrorism. Everybody, please, what do you think would have happened to the country? How do you think we would all react as Trump supporters, as conservatives? Oh my God. People will be saying it's time to pick up a gun. That's exactly what would have happened. And I'm looking left and I'm looking right and I'm looking up and I'm looking down and I'm like, and is anybody going to get fired over this? Like the people that are running the Secret Service? The people that are in charge of the president's security? Like, how does this happen? And it's not the first time. It's now the third time. High profile. There have been 19 attempts. A big story yesterday. I read 19 attempts on Trump, but these like three big ones, you know, where they came close. They really came close. Bob, somebody in the Secret Service wants this president dead. And I'm telling you, God saved us on Saturday night. And there's only so many times you can dodge a bullet. And from what I'm seeing, and I'm going to play you some cuts later on, I'm just going to blow your mind. Remember I said they were going to give 24 to 48 hours? No, not even. You got to see the rhetoric now coming out of the Democrats. It's as bad or worse than before Saturday. So the Democrats they hate him. If it's possible, they hate him more now than they did before Saturday. So, you know, you can only be lucky so many times. And that's why, for me, President's number one priority now must be his safety and his security and the people he has watching him and people around him. Because I very much now fear for his life. And I fear, honestly, for the future of our nation. Bob, I know I've given you final word now twice. Let's go for the third time. What say you, Bob?
Yeah, but Obama said we have no idea what motivated the shooter. Okay? So you need to hear anything else. You know, come on.
Bob, great call, as always. And I love your sense of humor. Carrie in West Bridgewater. Thanks for holding, Carrie, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Carrie.
Jeff, I'm not the gatekeeper of jokes, but I will say this. Kimmel's lame excuse for his little joke was that it was a joke about the age difference between the president and the first lady. Well, the age difference between the two of them has never been an issue. It's never been something that's discussed publicly. We're not talking about somebody like the actor Leonardo DiCaprio, who's 50 and famously will not date anyone over the age of 25. All of his girlfriends are in their early 20s, and once they're 25, he's on to the next one. So that's a pretty lame excuse. Plus, Kimmel has a history. You know, we all remember about the Charlie Kirk assassination and his little joke about that and his non-apology. The man hates half the country. He hates you, he hates me, he hates the president and his family. So his little excuse, it's just a joke. If we really want to make an impact, take any effort. Who the heck watches that?
Carrie, you kind of broke up on us a little bit, so we missed some of what you said, but it wasn't a joke. You're completely right. It was mockery. And it was mockery in order to justify murder. And he had to come up with this lame excuse. It's called CYA, cover your you-know-what. Disney and ABC said, look, we don't want to let you go, Jimmy. So we got to come up with some ridiculous, pretext or excuse. So we'll just say you were making fun of their age difference. When everybody knows, nobody cares. Nobody has ever commented on their age difference. So that had nothing to do with it. No, look, Kerry, I think we have to really be honest. Jimmy Kimmel said the quiet part out loud. They want Trump dead. And they're going to celebrate. They're going to pop champagne corks. They're going to celebrate and dance on the streets. God forbid if they get what they want. Okay, First Lady Melania Trump now goes after Jimmy Kimmel for his despicable, disgusting joke, basically calling for the death or the murder of Donald Trump days before the attempted assassination at the White House Correspondents' Dinner on Saturday night. She says it crossed the line. This is no longer comedy. There's nothing funny about it. It is violent rhetoric, and it is promoting a culture of assassination and a culture of violence. And I agree with the First Lady. Trump now as well is calling for ABC and the parent company Disney to fire Jimmy Kimmel. So far, ABC and Disney are sticking with Jimmy. And my question to you, should ABC and Disney fire Jimmy Kimmel? Number one, should he go? And is it time to boycott ABC and Disney? I say yes and hell yes. 617-266-6868. This is from Mark on Messenger. And he just basically let me know that apparently Jimmy Kimmel's wife, I was not aware of this, but his wife apparently writes most of his monologues for the show. So apparently a lot of what comes out of his mouth, those sick, vile jokes, it's from the wife. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, so wait, would she like it if someone else was going around saying somebody should off Jimmy Kimmel? Or she would be an expectant widow? She has the glow of an expectant widow. Hey, someone's going to take care of your husband soon. Ha, 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 ha. You think she would find that funny? I mean, what a sick, honestly, you want to talk about a twisted couple. Two moonbats. I'm telling you. I don't know who's crazier, him or the wife. Rob in Dedham. Thanks for holding, Rob, and welcome.
Jeff.
Rob, how are you, my friend?
Reporting from the battlefield of Massachusetts 8 in the center of hate. I've been attacked no less than 8 times since Sunday, out gathering signatures. Now, they're always the same type of people, always the same nonsense. I call them intruders, Jeff. I'm having a conversation with somebody about something, and all of a sudden they show up, and they just get into it. And what they try to do is, my opening question is, listen, I can't use Democrats in my sheet because they have their own. And right there, you can see them scanning my board of all the things that the Massachusetts 8 conservatives say that's bothering them, whether it's immigration or lawfare or whatever. So by the time they go into the shopping centers, I don't care where I am, Jeff, they go in, and by the time they probably get to aisle 5, their heads explode, and then they come out and start ranting and raving again. I've had to call the police at least 3 different times in 3 different towns. But the body camera, Jeff, levels the playing field, let me tell you.
Well, Rob, look, I agree with you. Look, the more you catch liberals or Democrats on video, the more you see what they really are. And I think that's the problem now they have, is that this Trump derangement syndrome has driven them to become so unhinged, so deranged, that they can't filter it anymore. They can't hide it anymore. And they're bearing who and what they truly are. And the country now is seeing it. And I'm sorry, Rob, there's only one way I can describe it. It's demonic. It truly is. It's satanic. It's evil. To go around wishing for the murder of a man, to go around wishing for the murder of his family, as they do, to go around now calling for the arrest of everybody in his administration, to go around and fantasize about putting his supporters in detention camps, as they're now openly doing. I mean, these people are sick. And it's obvious. They go on about a threat to democracy. What democracy are you people defending? You don't believe in democracy. The biggest totalitarian thugs are you. Up to and including now. So you wanted him off the ballot. You wanted him jailed. You didn't want him to be able to run for office. You wanted to bankrupt his entire business so he couldn't run again. And now you couldn't do that. So now you're saying kill him. That's how much you respect democracy. That you're willing now to completely overturn the 2024 election and the will of the people because you don't like the way the American people voted. And so your answer is put a bullet in his head. To me, this shows, as I said, you scratch a Democrat, you get a totalitarian thug. And that's what we're now seeing. And I got to tell you, Rob, I don't know how somebody like Kimmel sleeps with himself at night. I mean, I know he's taking the money, and they pay him very well, and they love him in liberal Hollywood, and the Democrat elites love him. But, after a while, you got to look at yourself in the mirror, and you have to ask yourself, what kind of a person have I degenerated into? I mean, is this now what I've become? Where my comedy routine is to call for, human beings to be murdered and presidents to be assassinated? And voters to be, remember one of his jokes was that, MAGA, every MAGA voter out there has been punched in the head once too often, and we should continue to go and punch him in the head. So is this is your idea of comedy? To stand there and foster as much violence and hatred and division as possible? So, I mean, that's sadly the sick culture that we live in. And, the media now has been caught with their pants down because they can't spin Alan Cole. They just can't. Couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Okay, this is a really good text, 70470. If you want to text the Kuhner Man, 70470. It's from 603. Jeff, I want to make a point aside of Jimmy Kimmel. He's a low-life scumbag and has always been a low-life scumbag since I first saw him on The Man Show on Comedy Central. So his vile comments are no surprise to me. However, what was a surprise to me was during the event, after shots were fired, the Secret Service grabbed J.D. Vance and rushed him off the stage first. Then at least 15 seconds went by before they surrounded President Trump to get him to safety. That is completely counter to established protocol. The president always comes first, and that raised a big red flag for me. Now, okay, interesting. Now, there's been a lot of discussion about that, 603. And I'm just going by what media reports are saying. Yes, you're right. JD was whisked off the stage before Trump, no question. However, and this is what Trump has been telling people, he did not want to be ushered off stage. President Trump didn't. He was worried about Melania, and he was worried about Caroline Leavitt. And so he said, no. I want the women, meaning the First Lady and Caroline Leavitt, I want the women to be taken off stage before me. And he also said, make sure the vice president is put in safety. In other words, God forbid, if something should happen to me, we have to have the successor, unharmed as well. Okay, not harmed. So we have to have him protected. But it actually says a lot about President Trump. Honestly, his chivalry, his gallantry, frankly, his courage, his bravery. But he's like, no, hey guys, no. I don't care if I'm the president. My wife, take care of her first. Take care of my press secretary, Caroline Levitt. You make sure that she gets off stage first. So to be fair, no one's a bigger critic of the Secret Service than the Kuhner man. But to be fair, Trump was the one who said, no. I want them to go before me. And to be fair, he kept saying, don't take me off stage. We're like, Mr. President, this protocol, we've got to take you off the freaking stage. And almost immediately after they took him off stage, to his credit, he said, look, clear this, and then let's go and continue with the correspondence dinner. I don't want them to think that they can cancel a function or intimidate us or bully us. And so, in fact, he got a commitment for a while from the head of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. She's a journalist for CBS News, saying, no. You tell them we're not canceling anything. You go on stage and say there's going to be a break in the activities, and we're going to be back in about half an hour. And then, of course, the Secret Service stepped in and said, look, Mr. President, we just can't do this. I know you want to do it, but we just can't do it. And reluctantly, Trump said, okay. And that's when he held the press conference after the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and he took questions. So my point is this. Trump wanted others taken off the stage before him. That was his express wish. And to me, again, that says so much about his character and his integrity. In other words, their lives matter as much, if not even slightly more than mine. So take care of them first. I'll be fine. And as he said, look, he goes, I have an army of Secret Service guys surrounding me. Don't worry, as he said, no bullet's going to come to me because people around me are going to take the bullet for me. So he was even cracking jokes afterwards. But his point was, the women go first, and I want my VP to be safe, because if something should happen to me, we have to have the vice president, the next in line, to not be harmed. So I think that says everything you need to know about the president. Now, just one last point on Jimmy Kimmel, and then I want to go back to the phone lines, 617-266-6868. So now the media is trying to spin this as Melania Trump and the president are trying to, quote unquote, crack down on criticism and free speech. That they're trying to use Saturday's attempted assassination and the left's culture of glorifying violence, political violence, and somehow, you're trying to silence us. Jimmy will not be silenced. We will not. We at CNN, we will not be silenced. So listen now to Fake Tapper. Okay? CNN anchor, Fake Tapper. Who watches this guy? I don't know. His ratings may even be lower than Jimmy's, if that's possible. But now they're all rallying to Jimmy. Roll cut 4, Mike.
We touch on the news today and what was perhaps inevitable, that the Trump administration would try to use Saturday's horrific act of violence to try to clamp down on criticism and free speech. Today, the president and the First Lady, Melania Trump, citing a joke that comedian Jimmy Kimmel made last Thursday on his show, tried to connect that joke with the assassination attempt. Now, there is zero evidence that the would-be alleged assassin heard the joke. In fact, authorities say the suspect left California for Washington, D.C. by train on Tuesday, so his trip to D.C. started long before Jimmy Kimmel told this joke on Thursday night, airing this pretend correspondence dinner skit.
So now the claim is, to show you how disingenuous and borderline idiotic, this is such an idiotic argument. So now it's like, well, there's no evidence. He heard the joke. And then the joke made him want to attack President Trump. But listen to this. He continues. Hold on. Here's Fake Tapper. Roll cut 4A. Mike.
Today, the First Lady tweeted, quote, Kimmel's monologue about my family isn't comedy. His words are corrosive and deepens the political sickness within America. It is time for ABC to take a stand. How many times will ABC's leadership enable Kimmel's atrocious behavior at the expense of our community, unquote. This in response to a joke she did not like. This afternoon, President Trump followed with a Truth Social post that said, quote, this is something far beyond the pale. Jimmy Kimmel should be immediately fired by Disney and ABC, unquote. There was more. But let us just take this moment and say, is it fair to judge Jimmy Kimmel's joke in light of what happened at the dinner 2 nights later?
Yes. Yes. And I'm telling you right now, if this was a conservative comedian, let's take Greg Gutfeld, who made a joke about Obama's wife, Marxist Michelle Obama, being an expectant widow 2 days before an attempted assassination, say if Barack Obama was still president, you at CNN would be leading the charge saying that Greg Gutfeld should be taken off the air. And by the way, again, he gave the whole game away. This is a joke? In what universe, in what planet is calling for the death and the murder of the President of the United States and to make a mockery of this person's upcoming alleged death? How is this comedy? How is this a quote-unquote joke? As Melania put it, what, you think it's funny? To say to me, you know what, you're going to lose your husband? Ha, 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 ha. You're looking forward to it? Ha, 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 ha. You got this glow about you like you're pregnant. Ha, ha, ha. Wouldn't you just love it if somebody offed your husband? And the CNN, it's a joke. It's a joke. What's the problem? You phony, you fraud, you. And the point is not whether he heard the joke or didn't hear the joke. It is the normalization, the mainstreaming of a culture of political violence and assassination on the left, and in particular from the Democratic Party and from Democrat supporters. That's the problem. How many times are you going to try to kill President Trump before you start taking responsibility for your words, your hatred, your demonization? This has nothing to do with free speech or criticism. Andy in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Hello, Jeff.
Hi, Andy.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I love your show, and I love you in a non-sexual way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Andy. What's on your mind, my friend?
Welcome back. I just know that laugh after Jimmy Kimmel said what he said is they have these laughing machines, and if you go back to the old days in the 70s, the 80s, the sitcom shows, if you listen carefully, it's a laugh that they just add in there, and that's what that is. And he's got no one watching him at all. I mean, it's just, the show's got to go. I demand that ABC, call your show and give an apology, and just, it's totally wrong what's going on. So,
Andy, that's interesting. So you think his ratings are so bad that they've so hit the bottom of the barrel that he's got nobody in the audience, and so that's like a laugh track that they're playing, correct?
If you take and listen to it into the sitcoms of the 70s and 80s, they had the same thing. They'd add a laugh at the end of anything that was supposed to be funny. So you can hear that. And that is that, because he's got no one watching him, obviously. So,
Andy, I've got to ask you this. What is keeping this guy afloat? He makes no money for ABC or Disney. In fact, not to beat a dead horse, but he's costing them money. They're bleeding money with this guy. He's got his ratings are in the tank. He's got very few advertisers. The money that comes in from the ads don't pay. He's got an army of producers and writers, including his wife. And so the show costs ABC more to make than what it brings in. So he's a net liability to ABC and Disney. Never mind that he's toxic, that he's dangerous, that he's reckless, that he's irresponsible, that every few months he says something more outrageous and frankly more sickening and disgusting than the previous couple months. So what is Disney and what is ABC getting out of this guy? What's your theory, Andy?
The theory is their ratings are so low, you can only put the weather on and anything that's interested so many times before people just don't, there's nothing on worth watching on those networks. They owe they owe the country an apology to come on your show and apologize for what Jimmy Kimmel said. It was totally wrong.
Oh, I agree with you. No, look,
right.
Andy, it was dangerous. Melania's completely right, the First Lady. It was dangerous. It was cowardly. It was sickening. And it's putting her life and the president's life and frankly other people's lives now in danger. When you start mocking the death and murder of the president of the United States and his supporters, I'm sorry, that's not only a liberal. Maybe liberals think this is funny, but most people who are normal in the normal world don't think that, joking about someone's death is funny. And look, it's leading now to a cult of hatred, and it's leading now to a culture of violence. And this violence now has almost gotten Trump killed 3 times. And so, again, you have to ask the question, do you want him dead? This is the question I have for ABC, for Disney, for the Democrats, for the media, for Hollywood, for all the liberals and Democrats listening. Do you want him dead? And I think the answer is clear. Yes, they want him dead. And they don't care what the consequences of that will be. And what they don't understand is once you go down the road of political assassination, you don't come back. Andy, thank you so much for that call. Let's go to Bob in Medford. Bob, thanks for holding and welcome. We just lost Bob? Okay. Maggie in Amesbury. Thanks for holding, Maggie, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Maggie.
Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
First of all, yes, I think Jimmy Kimmel should be fired. But I also wanted to add something. I know there's no really hard evidence of this, but given the timing of what he said and then the shooter's attempt, I'd like to scare him a little bit and have Trump send Secret Service and the DOJ pay him a visit. Hey, the timing's interesting. Did you know something we didn't know? Shake him up. Let him know what it's like to feel this pressure. He's such a coward. I would love to see something like that, just to play, basically it's playing their game right back at him. You think you're so smart? Well, let's answer some legal questions, Jimmy.
Maggie, I love it. I love it. And I'm not asking you to do it because I don't think you should. I don't want this to happen to you. But if you were to go on social media, forget having your own show on ABC and Disney, where you're paid, whatever, what is it, $15, $20, $25 million a year, this outrageous salary, okay, for a guy who has no ratings and brings in no money. Just Maggie in Amesbury or Jeff Kuhner in Rentham, okay, or whatever, anybody listening, just go on X. Just go on X. And say or write down what Jimmy Kimmel said. That you're looking forward to Melania being an expectant widow. And that there's a real glow about you. Because, wink, wink, your husband's going to get killed soon. I guarantee you, within 24 to 48 hours, the Secret Service is knocking on your door, Maggie, They're knocking on my door. They're knocking, say, if Sandy did it or Mike did it or where, they'd be knocking on our door, rightfully so, because it's illegal to threaten to kill or murder the president of the United States or to call for the president to be killed or murdered. It's illegal. So again, you're completely right. The Secret Service should be knocking on his door. In fact, I would be dangling the handcuffs in front of him. Jimmy, you know why we're here. We're going to read you your Miranda rights, okay, Jimmy? So, and by the way, who wrote the joke? Your wife? Come on over, sweetheart. Yeah, we're going to put the handcuffs on you too. Because that's exactly what they would do to anybody else. So again, why are they above the law? The Democrats keep saying no one is above the law. Why is Jimmy Kimmel above the law? At a bare minimum, I agree with you. The Secret Service should be knocking on his door and paying him a good, hard visit. Scare that punk a little bit. Make him sweat a little bit. Maggie, do you think anything's going to happen to Jimmy? Or do you think ABC and Disney are going to keep this guy around? By the way, apparently his contract is up till, what is it? They extended his contract. He's going to be around at least until May 2027. This guy's going to be around for another year and a half. It's just incredible. Whatever. Not a year and a half, but 13 months. So he's going to be around for over another year. I think they want to keep him for the midterms. And I think they're probably going to extend him into the presidential election in 2028. So Disney, forget getting rid of him. They've just given him a contract extension, Maggie.
I think they might get rid of him. I have a feeling with the pressure on and what actually happened, I have a feeling they might get rid of him, and I hope they do.
From your lips to God's ears. Maggie, thank you so much for that call. Really good call. I'd love to get a gig like that. No, really. So you pay me $20 million a year to suck. No, seriously. Okay, Jeff, we don't want you to be funny. Okay. How about the ratings? You want high ratings? No. We want them in the basement. You want no ratings? No. Well, what about like ad revenue? No. So what do you want me to do? Just be as vile and as offensive as you can possibly be. Like, what do you mean? Call for the president to be murdered. Go ahead. Call for his supporters to be killed. Go ahead. When someone gets murdered like Charlie Kirk, lie. Say it was the MAGA that did it when a leftist did it, okay? Kuhner, we just want you to stand there and be a hack. That's all. There's no performance anxiety whatsoever. I mean, who gets a gig like this? You can't make this up. You know, the epitome of privilege. That's Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, everybody listening out there, I live and die by the ratings. 12, 13 years now, I've been on the air in Boston. The only thing keeping me afloat, I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you, are the ratings. The ratings and the ad revenue generated off the ratings. I've never seen this. Your ratings suck. Your ad revenue sucks. Nobody watches you. You're the biggest jerk and slime ball you're the biggest bottom feeder in Hollywood. You say the most disgusting, sickening, vile things imaginable. And the more vile you are and the more you suck, the more money you make. I've never, like, this is, it's like you want one, so only what, in the end, what? He watches himself? Like, that's what you want? One person watching the show? 617, and I'll tell you why they have him on. David Axelrod came out on X and said ABC should keep Jimmy Kimmel because, quote, Democrats find him funny, meaning the dear leader finds him funny. Obama finds him funny. If Obama finds him funny, ABC and Disney are going to keep him because essentially he's a political operative. That's what he's there for. He's there to attack and demonize Trump. Period. full stop. And as long as he does that, his job is safe. Mark in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Hey, buddy.
Mark, how are you, my friend?
I'm well. Enjoying the bright sunshine. All kinds of climate change. Loving it.
By the way, Mark, I'm not kidding. Did you hear the latest from Al Gore? Al Gore now says there's a global, I swear to you, there's a global cooling that's going to take place in the next 25 years. There's going to be an ice age coming. So we've gone from the planet has a fever, we're all going to burn up. Now Al Gore says we're all going to freeze. So that's the latest, his latest hoax now. I swear to you, got to see it. I read it last night. I couldn't believe it. So we've gone from the planet's on fire to the planet now is going to be covered in ice. And the same ones who believed them that we have a fever are now saying we're all going to freeze to death. So there you go, Mark. And by the way, he's going to make as much money on the global cooling hoax as he made on the global warming hoax. But anyway, sorry, Mark, I digress. Go ahead, my friend.
Surreal. We go from no polar ice caps to being buried under ice caps. Terrific. This guy's a clown. Unbelievable. Just a clown.
But go ahead, my friend. Go ahead.
All right. So, hey, listen, Jeff, when each of my kids were born, I have three. My father-in-law bought each of them 100 shares of stock in Disney. Back in, 2005, when my son was born, it was probably a good investment. Obviously, they've gone off the deep end on all the woke crap. I sent an email to my broker today, said I want it all sold, and I sent an email to Disney and told them why. I was polite about it. I didn't rant and rave. I just said that I cannot support a company that employs someone that calls for the death of a president. Jeff, Disney, their bread and butter is Marvel. All the Marvel movies have made them billions of dollars, Jeff. There's a big Marvel movie coming out, Jeff, that's costing them hundreds of millions of dollars to make. I mean, they're $500 to $600 million to make. If there is a boycott of that movie, Jeff, Disney is going to hemorrhage money. And if people get out there and they say, we will not go see this movie unless you fire him, they're going to have to act, Jeff, because they will lose potentially billions of dollars, Jeff.
Please, Mark, please don't tell me it's Dr. Doom.
Yeah, it is.
It's Dr. Doom?
Yeah.
Son of a bee.
Doomsday movie, Jeff. I know, and I wanted to go see it, but if he's still working for them, I will not go. I just won't.
Ashton's been on my back for over a month now. Daddy, we got to go see Dr. Doom. So looking forward to it. He's already looked at the trailers. Yeah, Mark, if I tell him the family's boycotting Dr. Doom, I'm going to have a rebellion on my hands. You know what I mean, Mark?
Kids want to go see it. I mean, my oldest is 20. He doesn't really care, but my daughter, my son, they both want to go see it. And, I mean, I grew up reading those comics. I loved all those stories, but I cannot support a company that employs a guy that calls for the death of a president. I don't care if it's Trump. I don't care if it's Obama. I don't care if it's Biden. If you openly support a guy that calls for the death of a president, calls for the death of anybody, then I have no desire to do any business with you. So I got 300 shares of stock that's getting sold today, and I don't really care. I'm done with them. Anyone, if you have Disney Plus, cancel it. Hit Disney where it hurts the most. Hit ABC where it hurts. Take their money away from them. They're going to have to act, Jeff. When they're in the red and they're hemorrhaging money. I mean, look at Disney World. That place is a train wreck. Nobody can afford to go there because they have to keep jacking up the prices because they don't make enough money. It's madness, Jeff.
Oh, Mark, you're not 100. You're 1,000% correct. Cancel Disney Plus. Don't go to Disney World. And look, I hate to say it, but I'm not going to see Dr. Doom. And, Ashton's 16 now. It's going to be, kind of tough for me to enforce it on the guy. But I'm going to tell him, look, Ashton, we don't need this. You really don't want to be supporting this kind of a company. Calling for, for Trump to be killed. And, son, we can spend our money elsewhere. We don't need this. And I think Ashton's going to come along with me on that one and not go. But I'm not going to go. It bothers me because I really want to see the movie, but you're right, Mark. Look, we've got to hit him where it hurts. And when they start bleeding cash, they're going to cut this guy loose so fast. But they've got to learn this woke agenda that they keep pushing, this radical left-wing politics that they keep ramming down our throat to the point now that they're calling for the murder of the president of the United States. It's got to stop. And I'm with you. Mark, by the way, I knew they were pouring a lot of money into Dr. Doom, but really, is it like $500-600 million? Is it that much?
Jeff, when everything is all said and done, the post-production, all the CGI they've had to put into this thing, it is going to be hundreds of millions of dollars, Jeff, that they're going to dump into this movie. More than any of the other Marvel movies that they've done. It's going to be a huge amount of money. And if this thing fails at the box office, they're going to freak out.
Oh, no question.
They're going to run and say, this is all extremists' fault that they're not going to the movie. No, it's not. It's your complicity in calling for the death of a president.
I love it.
Disney, this used to be a wholesome family company. Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, the Mickey Mouse Club. These were, organizations that taught, values and taught children to, behave and respect their parents. And now it's all about, how can we get out there and ram through these, animated movies that are all about non-binaries and transgenders. And this isn't what the kids want. But they don't care. They have a platform and they've got billions of dollars sitting in stock and everything else. They're just going to do whatever they want, Jeff, until the people have finally had enough.
You are completely right. Oh, you are so right. It's not even funny. By the way, Mark, as you were talking, Mike was in my ear saying he says it's going to be a great movie. Mike says you're right, that they're pouring a ton of money into it. He believes it's going to be an absolutely awesome movie, and he's going to go see it. Thanks for being such a culture warrior there, Mike. I really appreciate it. But anyway, no, Mark, look, they lose money on Dr. Doom. I agree with you. They're going to be in big trouble. They're going to be in big trouble. And I think your larger point is completely spot on. We have to now hold Disney accountable. And the way to do that, boycott them, period, across the board. And, Mark, I got to tell you, to me, growing up, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, I remember the Mickey Mouse Club. To me, Disney was like as American as Mom and Apple Pie. You couldn't get more wholesome, more family-oriented, more family-friendly, frankly, more decent than Disney. And look at it now. It's a sewer. It's a moral sewer. It's LGBTQ. It's transgenderism. It's pushing, sex at 11, 12, 13 years old, always defying the parents. Parents often getting killed in these animated movies, or the parents are always wrong and the kids are always right. I could just go on and on and on. It's, really, Walt Disney's rolling in his grave. Mark, thank you so much for that call. 617-266-6868. Okay, let's put this on the table. Is it time to boycott Disney? Will you cancel your subscription to Disney Plus, not see any of their movies coming out, and not go to Disney World? It pains me to say it because, man, I was looking forward to Dr. Doom, but no. Okay, 2 super quick observations. Number one, many of you may not even know this. Everybody knows Department of Homeland Security still not funded. They're getting checks out to the TSA, God bless them. But outside of checks going to the TSA, the rest of the Department of Homeland Security is not being funded. Well, guess what? The Secret Service is part of the Department of Homeland Security. So these Secret Service guys who were putting their lives on the line to protect the president and the first lady and everyone else in Trump's cabinet haven't been paid in, what is it now, 72, 73 days? You can't make this up. So you're asking men and women to take a bullet for the president, but you haven't paid them in over 2 months. That's the Democrats for you, okay? And then number two, Erica Kirk. I feel so sorry for that poor woman. She was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And there's actually video of her. You know, everyone's going underneath the tables and going down on the ground, and they're yelling, shooter, shooter, shooter. And she is so distraught, and she's being taken away, and she says, I just want to go home. She's crying and saying, I just want to go home. So she's barely starting to get, over, slowly but surely, the assassination of her husband. She's avoiding public events as much as possible. I just want to go. Erica Kirk. That was Erica Kirk being let out. Saying, I crying. I just want to go home. Like I can't, almost like I'm a cursed woman. I finally feel comfortable enough to go to an event, go to a public gathering, and what happens? Bang, 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 bang. Another attempted assassination. I feel incredibly sorry for that woman. I mean, you want to talk about being traumatized and terrorized. I mean, really, my fear is now the woman's never going to leave the house. Every time I go outside, somebody gets shot. 617-266-6868. Okay, Maestro Mike, who would you like me to go to next, Mike? JD on the North Shore. Thanks for holding, JD, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Very good. How are you, JD?
Good. Jeff, Mark from New Hampshire stole my thunder. I could not agree more with him. The conservatives in America need to do a Bud Light boycott on Disney, all Disney products, in particular the parks in California and Florida, which have absolutely astronomical prices. I believe it's over $200 per person to go into that park.
That's crazy.
There's a great alternative in Florida, in Tampa, Busch Gardens. But this is more than just left-wing rhetoric. This is evil, and we need to stop the evilness in this country. Going back to the Bud Light boycott with the transgender push on American children, calling for the death of a human being. It's despicable. It's evil. And the way to stop evil is to cut the head off of the snake. And to do that, the best way to do it is to turn the spigot off, the money flow. And I couldn't agree more with your previous caller, Mark. And I would hope that all your listeners would also participate in this boycott. And if you could get on X, I know you have a large following, Jeff, and to promote and push a boycott on Disney. It's the only way to send a signal.
JD, that's a great idea. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Tonight, when I go on X, I usually get on at about 7 or 7:30, and I always blast a couple of, I don't know what you call them now, tweets, X's, whatever they are. But I post, at least I put up several posts every single night. I'm going to be urging all conservatives, all Trump supporters, anybody with any human decency. It's time to, these people are out of control, and it's got to stop. And I agree with you. We're not talking about, inflammatory left-wing rhetoric or stuff that's incendiary or whatever, outrageous. You're talking now about calling for the murder of a human being, and in particular, the death and the murder of the President of the United States. This is so unacceptable. It is so beyond the pale. And you know, JD, this is the part that I don't get. Okay, you're a hired gun. That's what he is. He's a liberal Democrat activist. Okay, that's what Jimmy Kimmel is. You can't come up with ways to make fun of the president that are creative and maybe even semi-funny? You have to go right away for the kill him, murder him, assassinate him? This is what I find very honest. This is what I find A, disgusting, but B, chilling. Like, you can't be, I don't know, be creative about this? Okay, what is amazing, really, truly amazing, is that the Democrats, even after the third attempted assassination on President Trump, you think they would say, let's calm it down a little. Let's dial it back a little. No, 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 no. I want you to listen now. This is House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. And I was away last week, obviously, as I, told people, as I said yesterday, we were in the Bahamas celebrating the 30th anniversary for Grace and I. And, of course, the Bambinos, they joined us, Ashton and Ava, had a great time. But Virginia had their big referendum on redistricting, which, by the way, is unconstitutional. The whole thing is unconstitutional. And hopefully the Virginia Supreme Court's going to shoot it down. But long story short, Hakeem Jeffries came out, if you remember, and called for maximum warfare. His words, quote unquote, maximum warfare against Trump and the Republicans. And so he's now asked, in the wake of what happened on Saturday, with this kind of incendiary, violent rhetoric, do you regret calling for maximum warfare? Listen now to Hakeem Jeffries. Instead of dialing the temperature down, they're dialing the temperature, if it's possible, even more up. Now they're taking it to 11. Roll cut 3, Mike.
Republicans continue to hit you over saying maximum warfare everywhere all the time in your tweet after the Virginia election. So I want you to respond to that. And from a macro perspective, if you can, what are you advising your members to do about rhetoric right now that you can criticize the president without facing GOP criticism?
Political violence in any form directed at anyone, whether that's the right, the left, or the center, is unacceptable. Period. Full stop.
So, okay. But maximum warfare, and I could go on with the other things that Hakeem has said, that seems to be inciting violence, Hakeem. What do you say to that? Now, listen to Hakeem Jeffries. Roll cut 3A, Mike.
The notion that any of us are concerned with so-called criticism from these phony Republicans as it relates to anything that has been said, certainly as it relates to the comment related to maximum warfare everywhere, all the time, in connection with the redistricting battle that Republicans launched. I stand by it. You can continue to criticize me for it. I don't give a damn about your criticism.
So maximum warfare all the time, everywhere. He's not backing down. No. Okay, so then they roll out Jamie Raskin, because now they're asking these leading Democrats. Well, I mean, look at the names you keep calling Trump. You call him a rapist. You call him a pedophile. You call him a white supremacist. You call him a Nazi. And by the way, they're all lies. He's not a rapist. He's not a pedophile. He's the opposite of a Nazi. He's the opposite of a white supremacist. He's the opposite of a traitor. The Russia collusion hoax was just that, a hoax. It was garbage. Raskin's response, I don't even want to play the cut because it's insulting to your intelligence. It's all about policy. We never personalize our attacks on Trump. It's never been personal. No. It's about policy. Really? All right, let me just give you a taste. This is a taste of the vile rhetoric, the bile, the poison that Democrat politicians and their media enablers spew on a daily basis. It's been going on for 11 years. Let me just give you a taste. This is Raskin on MS Left BC. Roll cut 6A. Mike.
The Trump administration has been systematically dismantling the anti-human trafficking and anti-domestic violence programs and grants across the federal government. Human trafficking programs at the Department of State, at the Department of Justice, at Health and Human Services, USAID, you name it. And we've collected all of that, and we're going to show people that this is an administration that is on the side of the human traffickers and the sex abusers. And if you look at Donald Trump's pardons, and if you look at various actions taken by the Department of Justice, they are overwhelmingly on the side of sexual offenders and human traffickers. So this is not like one kind of lonely, discrete, one-off episode we're talking about. This is now becoming clear, a whole system that the Trump administration is committed to.
Sure. He's on the side of child molesters and sex traffickers. Sure. See, that's why Cole Allen said he's a rapist and a pedophile. Okay, but there's more, Raskin. Roll cut 6B. Mike.
We have never had a president more thoroughly determined than this one to stamp out the truth, to violate freedom of expression, to punish free assembly, to massacre the right to protest, or to destroy, manipulate, and shake down the press, the media.
So he wants to shut down protests, and he wants to repress and shut down the media. So he's a dictator. Okay. Now, here's Raskin again. This was just a couple of months ago. This is what he said about Trump and MAGA. Roll cut 6C. Mike.
Two of the hallmarks of a fascist political party are, one, they don't accept the results of elections that don't go their way, and two, they embrace political violence. And I think that's why President Biden was right to sound the alarm this week about these continuing attacks on our constitutional order from the outside by Donald Trump and his movement.
So he's a fascist, and MAGA is a fascist movement. Okay, I got you. All right, here's Kamala Harris on that infamous Atlantic piece where they said that Trump is an authoritarian who's now America's Hitler. Roll cut 6D. Mike.
It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is. This is a window into who Donald Trump really is. From the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room.
He's Hitler. Okay, listen now to Nicole Wallace and her guests. Here's a little montage on MS Now. Roll cut 6E. Mike.
What is the natural extension, Justin, if he pursues this to Harvard and beyond?
There was an authoritarian leader several decades back called Adolf Hitler.
In the same way that it happened in Russia with Stalin, the same way it happened with Hitler, eventually you get generals and admirals that are in there that only tell the leader what he or she wants to hear.
To the extent that the rule of law and an assault on the rule of law was an obscure, intangible thing, we're now seeing it in action.
If you look back in history, you can see very similar parallels that took place in other countries that really went down that authoritarian road, including in pre-World War II Nazi Germany, when Hitler and Nazi officials basically took over Frankfurt University.
Throwback to what?
Yeah.
Throwback to what? Poisoning the
Well,
blood.
I mean, that is literally Hitlerian rhetoric.
I believe every voter who casts a vote, regardless of who they vote for, has to know that Donald Trump believes Hitler did some good things.
Hitler. I can play 4 hours of this. Let me just play one more. This is Congressman Ted Lieu, California Democrat, just a few months ago. Roll 6H, Mike.
Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children.
Okay, now that's a lie. That's a bald-faced lie. There's not one allegation of him raping children. Okay, let me ask you. It is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Who incites more violence? A, entertainers. If you can call Jimmy Kimmel an entertainer, but you know what I mean. Late night hosts like Jimmy Kimmel. Or B, elected officials. Politicians. Who do you think incites more violence? A, entertainers. B, politicians / elected officials. You can vote on our webpage, WRKO.com/Kuhner, WRKO.com/Kuhner, KUHN is in national ER. You can also vote via X. And again, I was very active on X. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN is in national ER. Mike and Sandy are pretty much having a blast. They're laughing in the booth, saying there's no way I'm going to be able to uphold my pledge to boycott the Dr. Doom movie, which apparently is not coming out this summer, Mike tells me, but is going to be coming out just before Christmas. Because they know how much I love comic book movies, especially Marvel movies, and they say I do not have the willpower to follow through on my boycott, and I do not have the fortitude, the ability to stand up to my children because they want to go see the movie as well. All talk, no action is what Mike is telling me in my ear. Or as Sandy put it to me during the break, when it comes to your kids, quote, you're just a wuss, unquote. So basically, Ashton and Ava are going to have their way with me. And before you know it, not only am I taking them to Dr. Doom, I'm buying them popcorn and drinks. So they're saying I don't have what it takes to follow through on the boycott. So anyway, we'll see. I'm going to do everything I can to do my bit to uphold this boycott, and we'll see what happens. But as far as I'm concerned, we need to start boycotting Disney and boycotting them now. Everything. And maybe, just maybe, you'll start to see a real change in their behavior. 617-266-6868. But as I told them off air, I said, thanks for the vote of confidence. Boy, you guys really believe in me. Thanks. Linda in Randolph. Thanks for holding, Linda, and welcome.
Jeff, I just want to talk about the Jimmy Kimmel joke, if you want to call it that.
Yes. Yeah. The non-joke joke.
Yes, and a demographic that he had no consideration for, of which I am a part. I am a widow. I was about Melania's age, where Melania is now, when the event happened. I did not have that glow. My daughters did not have that glow. Our lives were destroyed. We were disabled by that event. And he had no consideration for anything like that. And I don't know what he thinks is funny We couldn't function. We were disabled. So is he going to start making fun of disabled people now? Is that where he's going to go? I can't even believe how many lives were destroyed by the death of my husband. So there's nothing funny about being a widow. There is no expectant glow of anybody when something like that happens. It is unbelievable that he had no consideration for how many other people that he offended by his comments.
Well, Linda, first, I'm very sorry for your loss. Really, truly, my deepest condolences to you, your daughter, and your whole family. Look, when I lost my mother, I know you lost your husband, but when I lost my mother, my father lost his wife. My father was never the same. You know, he was a widower, not a widow. He was a widower, but my dad was never the same. He just wasn't. And, look, I'm younger. I'm the child of my mother. And, obviously in the natural order of things, she's supposed to go, first before me. If you're lucky, right, as they say, you never want to see a child, pass away before a parent. But even then, I found it very hard to lose my mother. And, my father, he found it even doubly hard to have lost his wife, to be a widower. And you're right, it didn't impact just him. It impacted me. It impacted my sister. It impacted the whole family. So it just shows you what a self-absorbed, amoral narcissist Jimmy Kimmel is. It's not funny. Again, you have all these idiots on CNN and MS Now, and they're trying to defend the indefensible. And they're like, it's a joke. It's a joke. What's the joke? Where's the comedy? And in general, you're right, but I'm just saying in general, you watch these late night shows, where's the comedy? Like, really, honestly, what's the joke? Okay, fine, I get it. You want to do political satire. You want to attack the president. Okay, I get it. You're a liberal leftist. You're a Democrat. You're catering to fellow Democrats. I get it. So, look, if somebody said to me, Kuhner, I would never do it because I would never do anything against my principles. But if I had to, it's the only job left in the world. I got to feed my family. Well, you can make fun of the way he talks, the way he pronounces China. You could make, skits about his hair, the fact that he's always tanned in orange. You can make, and people could laugh. It's, whatever. You can make people laugh if you have to make political comedy and political satire. But they don't do that. It's, we want him dead. Can somebody kill him? He needs to be assassinated. He's Hitler. He's a rapist. He molests children. He's, he's a white supremacist. He's a vile, evil, ugly human being who needs to be erased from this planet once and for all. How is that funny? You listen to them. Honestly, Linda, it's like it's a political screed. Whether it's him, Stephen Colbert, Conan O'Brien, all of them. It's the same garbage over and over. It's hate. It's just hate. It's mockery and hate. And that's, I guess there's a market for it. I don't know who would watch something like this. And the other thing, Linda, that's really, I think, very telling is, and I'll give you the final word, I promise. To me, what is very telling about all of this is you don't see Democrats and liberals coming out and saying, hey, whoa. That's crossing the line now. Hey, whoa. Come on now. What is this, Rwanda? What do you want to turn this now into? The Balkans? Like, whoa, what do you want us now to start massacring each other and assassinating political leaders and killing presidents? Whoa. Hey, guys, no. There are some lines in a civilized society you just don't cross. I'm sorry. As the Germans say, it's verboten. It's forbidden. No. They love him. Honestly, my theory is, and you may disagree with me, Linda, my theory is I think every couple months he does something like this where he says something so vile and outrageous and offensive in order to keep himself relevant. Maybe, and so people will go, oh, let me tune in. What's he going to say today? What's he going to say tonight? What insane, disgusting, sickening thing is he going to say tonight? It's almost like a form of political pornography. You know, how's he going to degrade Melania or Trump even more tonight? And you mark my words, Linda, you can tell where this is going. Now they're angry at Melania for calling him out. They're going to start to call for her to be murdered. They're calling already for JD to be murdered. So it's not just Trump. They're not satisfied with Trump. That's why we're Cole Allen. See, everybody's missing the big story on the assassination attempt, what happened on Saturday. Yes, it was the third attempt. True. Yes, Secret Service let him down again. No question. But notice, he wasn't there just to assassinate the president. He wanted JD gone, and Rubio gone, and Hegseth gone, and Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, gone. Because you're seeing on the Democrats now, they're like, no, we can't just take Trump out. We got to take them all out. And that's previewing what they're going to do in November. They've already come out and said, we're not just going to impeach Trump. We're impeaching everybody in his administration. We're going to do something that's never been done in American history. So J.D. Vance, impeach. Rubio, impeach. Robert Kennedy Jr., impeach. Hegseth, impeach. You name it, we impeach. So they're paving the ground to go after and literally decapitate this regime, to decapitate the administration. And so I think he's doing it honestly on purpose, like a shock jock. And to keep getting that shock value, you have to keep escalating. And he's going to escalate to take out the wife. And you're completely right. What person has a glow expecting either their husband or their wife or their spouse to be killed or murdered or to die? What kind of a sick, depraved mind does this person have? And sadly, Linda, you don't see Democrats or liberals condemning it. Rather, you see them defending him. To me, that's the most chilling thing of all. There's no more conscience left. There's no more sense of right and wrong. There's no more moral compass. It's as if there are no more guardrails anymore. So the lower you go, the better. The more extreme and violent your rhetoric, the better. I mean, the only thing left, Linda, is for him to do what Kathy Griffin did a couple of years ago. Pull out a mock severed head of Trump, jihadist style, and hold it up and say, isn't this what we all want? Isn't this what we all want? And the audience going, yeah, yeah. I mean, what else can they do? Except, that's about it. That's it. And maybe do a spoof like on the Hunger Games, like cannibals. Where the cannibals or zombies are chasing Trump. And when they grab him, they eat him alive. And they do a kind of a skit. And they show it to the audience. Yeah! This is now the levels of depravity that they're sinking into. So what good, as Melania said in her very eloquent ex-post, this is sickening. It's a poison. All you're doing is deepening the hatred and division in our country. There's nothing positive or uplifting about this. It's not funny. It's not entertaining. It's not comedy. It's not a joke. It's a call for murder and violence. Final word to you, Linda.
Well, yes, I agree with everything you said. My comment has to do with something more far-reaching outside of politics. Those comments, those jokes, whatever, are just going to hit people, Democrats alike, in the wrong place when you start, making fun of a disabling situation. For me, it was a disabling situation that happened. And it brings me, 12 years later, to my knees when I think about it. So if, for whatever reason, he thinks that's funny, it's going to go beyond politics.
I so agree with you. I so agree with you. Linda, I'm telling you, I don't think they realize how many millions of Americans they're turning off. Hatred is never a good political strategy. It just isn't. It's a cancer. It eats you up. It eats up people around you. It's one of the darkest, most poisonous emotions you could ever have. And that's what's gripping the left right now. Really, honestly, the only thing I can say, compare it to, is it's like a madness. Like a social madness. And really, they've lost their minds. It's almost as if they have a collective form of rabies. Kind of a psychological, mental rabies. They're rabid. And they can't get enough hate. It's like the hate feeds on itself. And I agree with you. This is so off-putting. Look, Linda, again, I didn't lose a wife, a spouse, or a husband as you did. I lost my mother and eventually my father. But I got to tell you, I lost my mother in 2008. God is my witness. It's been 18 years. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love my job. Please, I'm a happy man. But, I've never, I don't know. It's hard to say this, you're never as happy. I know someone told me that at my funeral. He goes, I'm not going to lie to you, Jeff. The sun is never going to be as bright. The sky is never going to be as blue. When you lose your parents, especially your mother, it's never the same again. And it's like life is just a little darker and a little cloudier, and you're just never the same. And I'm telling you, it's true. Now, I love life. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love my job. Please don't get me wrong. But I can imagine losing a spouse. You're never the same again. So again, what's the joke? What's so funny? It's deeply offensive, deeply disgusting. And I don't know, there's something so callous about it. He's married. And she's the one who wrote the joke. Like I would love to ask the wife, tell me, would you find it funny if your husband dropped dead? Would you find it funny if somebody offed your husband? Would you find that funny? Is that a joke that you think is good? It's funny, yeah? You think that's humorous? How would you like it if this was said about you and your family? But you never think like that, do you? Because you're a liberal. You never think of others. You only think about yourself. Linda, thank you so much for that call. Really good call. Tom in New Jersey, red, white, and blue dynamite baby. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
Jeff Kuhner, maintaining the red, white, and blue moral compass every single day. That's red, white, and blue dynamite, baby.
Thank you, Tom. What's on your mind, my friend?
God bless you, Jeff, and your staff, and America, and Donald Trump. What's on my mind is the pathetic moral compass of the United States of America from the Democrats. Jeff, I told my family last year I went to New York City for a New York Rangers game. It was a birthday gift. I accepted it graciously, but I told them I will not be visiting New York City anymore. I hadn't been there probably in about 10 years anyway. I'll make one exception for the New York Yankees, Jeff. You know why I make that exception? Not only because I've been a New York Yankees fan since I've been like 5 years old, but because they sing God Bless America after the 7th inning stretch. That's the only reason I will go to New York City now, Jeff. I'm the little bit of discretion I have in my money, Jeff. I stay off airplanes. I brought the kids to Disney right before 9/11, Jeff, and I wouldn't go back. You could give me a hotel room, airfare, thousands of dollars of cash, and I wouldn't go there. I mean, if I see a restaurant with a foreign flag in the window, I will not go there. I wouldn't see Bruce. I saw Bruce Springsteen once in my life, and then I found out that Born in the USA was a rip on America. We're all pumping our fist and grabbing the flag. That lefty devil was ripping our country. That punk from New Jersey that can't even play the guitar and got lucky and has the imposter syndrome now. Although I'll give him a little bit of credit, he said it was wrong for violence against the president. But he's done so much damage before then. He's such a left-wing kook. So what I say in a nutshell, Jeff, is let's put our money where our mouth is. NFL, I've turned them off a long time ago. NBA, gone. Let's use our discretionary dollars. And you know what, Jeff? When these blue zones like Massachusetts and New Jersey run out of money, what's going to happen? Is the federal government going to have to take them over when they fully collapse and there's no more money to tax us working poor? What are they going to do? They can't print money, Jeff. The pension systems are collapsing. The tax base. Look at Mamdani going after Ken Griffin, you stupid idiot. That guy's going to sell that property if it's not already sold, and he's going to hightail out of New York City. You think the wealthy are going to sit there and be taxed to death, Jeff? They're not going to stand for it. They have the working poor. We're not as mobile. But you know what? We have our red line in the sand also, Jeff. This stuff, money and God is going to take care of this, Jeff, because they're Democrats, Jeff. We're incompatible with these people. They have no moral compass. They stand for things that are just not compatible with our Judeo-Christian value and our Constitution, Jeff. And things are going to take care of ourselves, namely God and prayer. But this has gone too far, and the Secret Service has got to pick up their game, Jeff. They're not getting it done. Maybe those Marines got to do.
Well, look, Tom, I agree on every single point that you made. Okay, my friends, there has been really two reactions from Democrats, from liberals, from the left to the third attempted assassination on President Trump. One is, for example, this is a teacher out in Cincinnati. Corin Baum is the name, and this is what Corin Baum posted on TikTok. And it sums up the feelings of millions and millions on social media, many of them on Blue Sky, which is the big Democrat left-wing platform, I guess the liberal version of X, big social media platform, where she's sad that she woke up to news that President Trump was not assassinated. Roll cut 16, Mike.
There's been a few creators on here saying that like Friday or yesterday could have been the day. And then I wake up to that news, but not that news. We're gonna have to pay really close attention to what they're trying to actually distract us from.
So she's disappointed. She wanted him dead. And that was the reaction of many, many Democrats and many on the left. Now, Jasmine Crockett, let me just give you another example. Jasmine Crockett came out and she went on her X account. And according to her, she's now saying, and this is now prevalent among many, that the whole thing was staged, that this is a hoax. So on the one hand, They wish he was assassinated. They're very disappointed he wasn't killed. But there's another part of them that says, no, the whole thing is fake. Though it was a false flag, it's all one giant hoax to help boost up his ratings, to distract from the war in Iran and how things allegedly are going badly for him. And so he needed some kind of an incident. And so, yeah, they got this guy at Cole Allen to go and shoot up the White House Correspondents' Dinner. That this is somehow part of this conspiracy by Trump and his team, like Butler, they say, was a big hoax, like the Florida assassination attempt was a hoax, to gin up sympathy and support for Trump. So this is what Jasmine Crockett, remember now, this is a member of Congress. Okay? This is a sitting member of Congress. And this is what she wrote on her X account. Has there ever been a president have this many close, quote-unquote, attempts on their life? Maybe it's lax gun laws. Maybe it's lack of mental health funding. Or maybe it's fake. ... Who knows? Mia Farrow, the ex-wife of Woody Allen, she's very big on the Hollywood left, came out and said, and this got a lot of traction and a lot of support and play, where she came out and said, as far as she's concerned, the whole thing was completely staged. That Cole Allen was basically part of a false flag, that he was recruited by Trump to go in there and attack the Secret Service and shoot up the place, and that Cole Allen was really acting on behalf of Trump in order to help him gin up more sympathy, because as she put it, this were her words, the Iran war is going badly and Trump doesn't know what to do. So to deflect and distract from the Iran war, according to Mia Farrow, the whole thing absolutely staged. That this was, again, the third attempt. And how could they fail 3 times? It's not possible to have this many attempts and every single time they fail. And so Trump must be behind it all. Now, if you look on social media, not just Blue Sky, but X, TikTok, Instagram, wherever, it's Democrat after Democrat after Democrat. They're now pushing, to me, the most insane conspiracy theory I've ever heard in my life, that Butler was staged, that the golf course attack in Florida was staged, and that the White House Correspondents' Dinner was staged. Now, as for Butler, how the hell do you get a guy? I mean, let's just play along for a second. How do you get a guy to shoot the president and just miss his brain by a millimeter? So you knock the earlobe off, you shoot the earlobe off, but you miss the brain. And he just manages to turn his head at the last possible millisecond. Like, could somebody explain to me how something like this could be planned, masterminded, or orchestrated? I mean, hello? Okay, that's number one. Number two, so Trump was behind Cole Allen. So Trump needs some left-winger to drive all the way to the Washington Hilton, attack a Secret Service checkpoint, cause terror and fear across the entire ballroom, have images blare out across the world of him being surrounded by Secret Service agents as he's down on the ground. Okay, now one more cut, and then I want to go right back to the blazing phone lines. I want you to listen now to Ana Navarro on The View. Again, these are deranged leftists, the lunatic left. But now they're going with this conspiracy, which may be the craziest conspiracy theory I've ever heard in my entire life, that Butler was staged, Florida was staged, and now this one, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, was all fake. It was all staged. All of it done deliberately by Donald Trump. Now, there's no evidence. They don't have a shred, a scintilla, an iota of evidence, but it doesn't matter. Now, Ana Navarro does it in a very coy way. Basically, what she's saying is, I can't believe how many people think it was staged. And tens of millions of Democrats on social media were saying it was staged. Again, it goes to my point. You want to see how utterly deranged, how crazy, how off their rocker? The Democrats have become. In other words, this is Trump derangement syndrome on steroids. Listen now to the screamer, the yeller, Ana Navarro. Roll cut 15, Mike.
I'll tell you what really hit me, though, was later that night when I was on social media or the next morning, a good chunk of the country thinks this was staged. And I don't think that. Let me just be clear. I don't think that. But where are we in America? When Reagan was shot in 1981, nobody would have thought about that. And so, I think I think people have to take stock of just the level of influence that misinformation, that the lies have had on the American psyche, that the first conclusion so many people reach because of the polarization and because of some of the things that our elected officials have done, frankly.
Now, notice, right, she covers herself by saying, oh, no, I don't think it was staged. That's right, you're right, Sam. She's been one of the biggest liars out there. Who pushed the Russia collusion hoax? She did. Who was the one that pushed the COVID lies? She did. Who was the one that went on about how 2020 was the cleanest, most honest election in history, in the history of the world? She did. Who went on about how Joe Biden is so physically and mentally fit to be president, and if you say otherwise, you're a liar? She did. I mean, I could go on and on. No one pushed lies more than she did, and has. Okay? But, as I like to say, let that go. Notice how she does it, because she knows if she comes out and says, oh, it was staged, ABC will have to yank her. They just will have to. And she knows that. So don't get me wrong now. I don't think it was staged, but what has it come to in our country that such a large chunk, wink, wink, it was staged, that the whole thing was fake? Wow. Just wow. Wink, wink. You think it was staged? I'm telling you right now, the Democrats have two responses to this. And it's either door one or door two. And honestly, I don't know which one's worse. Door one is, why didn't they get him? I'm so disappointed he's not dead. And the other one is, oh no, we had nothing to do with this. This could not have been a leftist. This was it's the ultimate in Trump derangement syndrome. Trump did it. Trump is trying to get himself assassinated. He's staging all of this. For what? For sympathy. Pathetic. 617-266-6868. Stan in Lynn. Thanks for holding, Stan, and welcome.
Yeah, nice program, Jeff.
Thank you, Stan.
The only thing I get is the deep state is carrying out their game plan to a T. You ask yourself, why didn't they fire Jimmy Kimmel? They don't care how much money they lose. They have deep pockets. Money is no object. The paid protesters, the pre-made signs, the protesters that don't even know why they're there. I saw an interview. They interviewed a protester at a protest. Why are you here? I'm here to support the neighborhood. No. Why are you here? I'm here to support. They don't even know why they're there. They hate Trump so much, it's sickening. And they're carrying out their plan. Their plan is brainwashing, just like the Nazis did in Germany. They brainwashed the German people to hate the Jews. So the deep state is more like the Nazi party than anybody. It's sickening. And that they're carrying out their plan, brainwash the American voter.
Well, Stan, that is a very interesting and perceptive point. They keep calling, us Nazis, and usually that's called projection. Everything they're, accusing us, they're guilty of. And you're right. This is mass indoctrination. It's mass brainwashing. And it's almost like they're zombies. When you really look at them up close, it's really frightening. It's, like almost like they're walking with their hands out, their arms out. And they're like, hate Trump. Trump is evil. Trump is Hitler. Hate Trump. Hate Trump. When you ask them specifically, well, what has he done? They can't give you a cogent, coherent reason. Or, like this guy, it's all, Cole Allen, it's, well, he's a rapist. Well, he's not a rapist. Well, he's a pedophile, but he's not a pedophile. Well, he's Hitler. Well, he's not Hitler. Well, he's a traitor. Well, no, Russia collusion was a lie. So they're being fed so many lies and misinformation, disinformation, to the point, Stan, that they can't think clearly or rationally anymore. So, to the point that they're so full of hate. Kill him, kill him, kill him. He wasn't killed, damn it. Or it didn't happen. It's all staged. He has them, he's living in their heads rent-free. And they've become obsessed with him. Obsessed. I've never seen anything like this. They hate him and they can't stop thinking about him. The only thing, Stan, I can compare it to, and I'll give you the last word. I've seen it, this kind of psychosis or whatever you want to call it, extreme emotional mental agitation. I saw it with my uncle when he got a very ugly, nasty divorce with his wife, where all he could talk about was her and hating her, like 24/7. And she was the same. And it was a bitter, bitter divorce. They both lost everything. Everything went to the lawyers. And I remember at one point my father sat down. It was my mother's brother. It was my dad's brother-in-law. And my dad said, his name was Frank. My dad said, listen, Frank, no one's winning in this divorce. It's eating you up. You can't sleep. You're angry all the time. All you do is swear at this woman in your own, in your own mind. You're walking around. All you want to do is badmouth her. And all the money is going to the lawyers. You guys are going to lose everything. You're going to lose the house. You're going to lose the car. You're going to lose the furniture. You're going to lose everything. And he just hated her so much he didn't care. And in the end, she went broke. He went broke. Stan, he had to live in our home for 2 years after he got divorced because he didn't have a penny to his name. He didn't have a pot to pee in, as they say. And he took my sister's room. My sister had to move in with me into my room for, a couple of years until he got back on his feet. But the only time I've seen this kind of irrational hatred and rage, where it's almost like all-consuming, like an obsession, is a really ugly, vicious, nasty divorce, where nobody is thinking straight. It's just hate for the sake of hate. Stan, final word to you.
They hate him because they couldn't buy him off. They hate him because he gets things done. They can't stand it when he gets things done because they don't get anything done. All they do is criticize him day after day after day. They got the media in back of them. And like I say, they're trying to brainwash all these voters with all these lies. And you know what I mean? In my eyes, a lot of this stuff is working.
Stan, I wish I could disagree with you, but I can't. Excellent call. Thank you so much for that call. And look, it's working. It's worked on the Dems. It's worked on the liberals. And they want to now brainwash even more Americans. And when you challenge their indoctrination, they go berserk. They go absolutely berserk. Gino in Buffalo, my fellow paisan Gino. How are you, my friend?
Well, here we are again, Jeff. I would just like to say the worthless, feckless, no good Republican Party, and that includes the conservatives and the Christians, so-called Christians. Nobody's in an outrage against this. You can't shut the Democrats up for supporting it. We can't find anybody to say how horrible besides J.D. Vance and Melania. I mean, it sickens me to the bone, and I would like Jimmy Kimmel to explain to me what the glow of an expectant widow is. That is just a horrible thing to say, because if you ever knew a widow, which we all do, their eyes are hurt, their soul is broken, their hearts are broken. And you come out and say something like that, that's not a joke. He's a sick individual, and for him to be on the air is just another, he's just worthless. I can't take it.
Gino, I've got to ask you the $64,000 question. Why does ABC and Disney keep this loser on, this obvious scumbag? He has no ratings. He makes them no money. He's toxic. He's nothing but trouble. Why do they keep this guy on? What's your theory?
My theory is he's the only soulless person to say the horrible things that he says. And like your other caller said, ABC has so much money, they can afford to lose a little money as long as that message gets out to people. You know, it gets out to people, and they don't care that he says it because it's out there, and now it's in the minds of the people that they want it to be in. I mean, that's all they would have to do is put together.
You're saying, Gino, you're saying he's saying out loud what they're all thinking in private, right? These Democrats and these Democrat big shots that run Disney and run ABC. So basically, you know what? Let him put these sick ideas in people's head. He's doing our dirty work for us. Is that essentially what you're saying, Gino?
He's the fall guy, but they're not going to let him fall until he finishes his messaging. And nobody has condemned him yet. Not one person has come out and say, I feel bad for Melania. My goodness. We hate Donald Trump, but to make her a widow, that would be, no, they really don't care. They're soulless. They are Devilcrats.
Yeah, they're Devilcrats. I think it's a great phrase. Gino, as always, my fellow paisan, thank you so much for that call. Mike in Saugus. Thanks for holding, Mike, and welcome.
Jeff, the same old question. Where is the Republicans? That's number one. And number two, in Wakefield and Saugus, they come out every Saturday. I don't see one patriot, one MAGA coming up against these hateful people. I go out there every once in a while alone, and I blast them out. I need people to come out. We need a rally.
Mike, are you shocked that so many Democrats are openly cheering and calling for the murder and the assassination of Trump? That it's gotten to this point that Cole Allen now is becoming another Luigi Mangione, a martyr, a hero on the left?
Their God is the devil. That's who they walk with, the Democratic Party. This is not the party of John F. Kennedy anymore, Ray Flynn, Tip O'Neill. Those were decent people.
This is a very, you're right, it's a very different party. And these people are sociopaths. And that's what they're really showing now. When you're glorifying the murder of a husband, a man, a human being, a president of the United States, and cracking jokes about, the glow of an expectant widow, I mean, you are sick. As you put it, you're demonic, you're satanic. There's no other word for it. Mike, thank you so much for that call. All right, let me squeeze one more in. Joe in Plymouth. I hate to do this to you, Joe. I've got 1 minute before the show ends. Go.
I'll be very quick. Okay, all the Dems have to be exposed. The baby boomers are the biggest voting bloc, and they're the ones who read the newspaper. They need to be writing editorials in all the papers and exposing them. The Secret Service leadership has to be demoted. I don't know if it's the U.S. Navy SEALs should be taking over the leadership. Trump has private security. They're probably better than Secret Service, but the planning by the Secret Service is an obvious failure. You know, they're good people, but they don't have the visionary. Then we have to look at the Secret Service that Obama got, that George W. Bush got, that H.W. Bush got, that Bill Clinton got, and so forth. And we have to again it has to be done quickly. I don't know how you put Navy SEALs right into the leadership of the Secret Service.
Well, Joe, look, they have to get new leadership at the Secret Service. They have to clean house and fire these bad Secret Service agents.